Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Today, we have an amazing show, another amazing show with an amazing, super amazing guest, and somebody I consider a friend and brother. All right, let's go. All right, now, whether you are catching us live today on this Tuesday, or whether you're going to catch us on demand at your leisure, watching us on Facebook, YouTube, a replay on Twitter, whatever that is, or whether you're listening to us on your favorite podcast, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and recently I found out we're on several other podcast platforms as well. We are just so grateful that you have found us. You have found your tribe. We are here for you. We are here to explore the amazing and absolutely fascinating lives of athletes, elite athletes, and former athletes. And today's guest is none other than just that. I want to introduce you to a dear friend and colleague, Richard Walker. So Richard Walker is a highly accomplished professional with a diverse background in sports and media. As a former minor league football player, he earned recognition as a four-time All-Pro and caught the attention of NFL scouts, leading to an exclusive invitation to the 2012 NFL Regional Combine. Now, as a media and coaching coordinator for the NFL Alumni Wellness program and founder and president of Pro Legends Media, Richard utilizes his expertise to promote wellness among NFL alumni and provide engaging sports contests to diverse audiences. Recognized for his contributions, he's a member of esteemed associations like the NFL Football Writers Association of America and the Basketball Writers Association of America, offering comprehensive analysis to his readers. Again, my esteemed brother, friend, and colleague, Richard Walker. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Coach? Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm even greater knowing that I get to hang out with you for a little bit today. This is going to be a ride. So, folks, get your seatbelt on. This is definitely going to be a fun ride. Ready. Get your popcorn, all the things. Yes, get them all ready. So, Rich, before I do a deeper dive into like all the things that you are and all of the talents that you have, and just get into really your headspace and heart space, we got to tell the people how we even got to be brother and sister, because you literally are my brother. I mean, You know what I'm saying? My brother from another mother, as they say. So as people know that are listening and watching Coach Leah's After the Whistle, it is my belief that I am 1 degree of separation from just about anybody on this planet, right? Mm-hmm. And so I definitely believe that with you. Upon our first meeting, I will say that, you know how the 1 degree of separation sometimes is a person, right? Like there's a complimentary person that we both know. You know, I was recalling, back to when we first met, and we really don't have that connection. Right. But and I don't make any apologies for my faith walk. I truly know the Holy Spirit knew how to connect us through our passion for journalism and sports writing. Yes. Because the better I got to know you, the more I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy is, speaking my love language of sports journalism. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And from that moment forward, I knew how I could hook you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let you tell the people the story, and I will graciously interrupt whenever you get it messed up.
Just plug in the details.
So go ahead.
So this is, and you're right. It's definitely a story of nothing but faith and favor, because we were both at the Lombardi Award. The
Yes.
Lombardi Award is given to the nation's top offensive or defensive lineman. That takes place here in Houston. And we were at the award ceremony that night. We hadn't even met in the room or anything like that. I was covering the event. I was actually meeting with the winner that year was Scooby Wright. Who became a good friend. He's still a good friend of mine. He now plays in the USFL. So I was backstage talking to Scooby, congratulating him and his family, and hobnobbing with them. And so it's time to go, and I go to turn in the ticket to get the valet to bring the vehicle. You're out there as well, and it was just one of those things where you got to understand where sometimes God will interrupt your plans in order to make things happen. So everyone else got their vehicles like on time, no problem. They were just coming back and forth. And we like, hey, wait a minute. I'm there like, I know that guy just walked out. Like I saw people sit down at the table eating dinner that got up and got their vehicles before we can get ours. And so it's like, it got down to the point where it's just me, you, and then Mitch, my partner. We're just sitting there. We're like, where the heck are our vehicles? But what it is this is the good Lord intervening, saying, y'all need to meet. Y'all need to talk. And so while we had all this time going on, we're trying to figure out what's going on with our vehicles. That's when the conversations began, where we started talking about, our backgrounds and what we do, and, just really starting to build rapport and get to know each other. So I sincerely agree with what you said. This was God intervening to say, I need to bring these two people together for this common thread, for this common cause, and that's where it all began.
Truly. So I'm gonna take a quick time out, insert my piece to that, my perspective to that moment, and say that yes, we absolutely were going like, why hasn't my vehicle come up yet? And nosy me, I'm looking around and I see this guy and his colleague and all this equipment.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I had all my gear.
I'm like, I know what that stuff is. And so I'm asking us, I'm like, hey, did you guys cover the event? And then that's when the conversation just started flowing. And both of us were just, and just back and forth. And so finally our cars come. But before our cars get to us, when I asked the $20 million question that to this day, we both just giggle and anytime it comes up. But I say, so do you guys cover, high school kids or anything like that? At which point Rich says, tell the people what you said.
We only cover pro teams.
Now, the reason that's so funny, you guys, because at the time when we met, I was the athletic director of Texas Christian Athletic League. And Texas Christian Athletic League is called TCAL at the time, and I believe it still is, the third largest high school sports association in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. So my mind was already thinking, I need these guys to cover my athletes. And I would love to, I'm already thinking all the way through the partnership and everything. I'm going to need this group to cover our events, to maybe do features on our elite athletes, because our league also was the first to have an elite division, meaning that players that are in high school that would most likely be one and done. And if you know what one and done is, it's 1 year of college and then you're going right to the pros. Right. Basically. And this was even before the G League and so on and so forth. And so I'm already thinking they would be amazing to cover our sports teams across the state, and probably then do an exclusive covering our state tournament. Mm-hmm. I'm already there. Well, as soon as Richard says, we only cover pro sports, I was like, okay. Okay. But I would like for us to have a conversation. And so Richard was gracious and we were able to have a conversation. And, of course, by now, both of our cars have pulled up and, we've exchanged contact information and so on and so forth. And so you can continue from there.
So fast forward, we continue to talk. She comes out to the studio with, we're running out at the time. So we're at the studio. And then you're gonna have to you're gonna have to jump in and fill in on this, Aaliyah. But this is where you're basically, you got me to commit to coming out to the tournament for the TCAL tournament. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and come out to the tournament.
And I believe the first tournament you guys covered for us was the basketball tournament.
The basketball tournament.
So the state, yeah. So coming up, so any of you guys that kind of know the kind of ebbs and flows in the calendar for sports, high school as well as pro, that the Butkus Awards, not Butkus, the Lombardi Award ceremony was November. Mm-hmm. Then you've got so this would be the now leading into the regular season for high school sports, and then state tournament is March. Mm-hmm. So now between December and March, yes, I got invited to the studio. But what I didn't know is that I was going to now start being a guest host on his show.
On my show, yeah. Yes.
So
yeah.
I
got
had
shanghaied into that.
So the funny thing about that, you guys, is I had been out of sports journalism for well over 20 years, as far as doing any type of broadcasting, any type of analysts, any type of writing, any of that stuff. I had been out of that for 20 years. And so it's interesting how now Richard has shown me that this thing of being on quote unquote the TV or whatever this is that we're doing, right? All the different multimedia platforms, like as I like to call them, was really like riding a bike, because talking about sports, anybody that meets me knows that I can do that all day, every day, and I really, really enjoy it. Many people are pleasantly surprised, or just surprised in general, that I know what I know as far as the different types of sports as well. And so now I'm doing these guest appearances as a host on his show. And then it even evolved after maybe 2 or 3 times on the show where Richard's now already thinking about a spinoff. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, what is really going on? Mm-hmm. And so, but now it's time for me to say, hey, can you guys please come and cover our tournament, mm-hmm. and so our basketball tournament that year was right outside San Antonio,
right,
and University Park, Texas, I believe it's called.
Yep.
And so he brings his team. They do a phenomenal job. I promise you, the turnaround time from the actual game to when we were able to have highlights that we could upload and share was, I still don't know when your team had time to sleep.
We went back to the hotel after the games and started editing that night. Like we were up till like maybe 2-3 in the morning editing that night.
Yeah, but you got to be about this life. That's typical. Anybody that's in this space knows that's kind of how it rolls. Even with the technology that we have today, you just know that you're probably not going to sleep until it's done. Yep. And you're going to have your excellent hat on, because you want to make sure that you provide the best not even the best coverage, because you already had the best coverage, but the best clips. Right. From that event that would help to tell that story.
Right.
So now when we giggle about that he only covers pros, tell the people who you guys covered that year at the state tournament.
Well, it turned out that we actually were covering pro teams, because if you're familiar with Jared Valentine, who now starts for the Lakers.
Vanderbilt.
Well, I keep saying Valentine. Vanderbilt.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he now starts for the Lakers, and he was on that team. There was also what's the young man that he went to Baylor? He's actually NFL player now, but he was a basketball. Yeah, he signed with the Seahawks. He was with Baylor. They won the national championship, and he signed on. And he's on the well, he's actually on the training camp team now for the Seattle Seahawks.
Right. And then you can't
Memory
forget,
slips.
that's okay. You can't
Yeah,
forget Emmanuel Mudiay.
yeah, and Emmanuel Mudiay, yeah.
So
And
Emmanuel Mudiay played on one
is
of the
he still playing
teams.
overseas?
To my knowledge, he's still
Yeah,
overseas.
yeah.
Yes.
But he was in the NBA for a couple of years, like with the Cavaliers, if I recall,
Yep.
and I
The
want to say
last
the
place I
Nets,
saw him with the was last place I
U-
saw him play with was Utah.
Utah
Mm-hmm.
Jazz. That's right, Utah
Mm-hmm.
Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yes.
we actually covered 3 NBA and slash NFL players in that tournament so
Yeah.
far. Because there's some other guys that are like still Europe or G League, like they're on the cusp of breaking through as well. So you never know, you never know.
Right. And so I was like, so I was able to make that happen so that you guys are covering those pros that you
Yeah.
do so well. Well, and in the midst of that, and so I would love for you to talk about just a little bit, because again, I get a chance to gush about your team, and I'd be remiss to not mention Mitch.
Hmm.
So and he has promised to be a featured guest on our show as well on CoachLeah's After the Whistle. But
Hmm.
he is an amazing analyst, sportscaster. I mean, he's great. He's from
Hmm.
Detroit, but we won't hold that against him.
Hmm. Well, damaged goods are okay too.
His grammar skills, yes, 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 and Mike Tula, who was who is now an like full-time actor, isn't he? Is he
Hmm.
out in LA? Probably,
Hmm.
which bless their hearts, they're on strike
And
now. But
Fatula, you gotta forgive me for this, but he recently won an Indie Award for one of the indie movies that he did. So I don't
award-winning.
recall, but yeah, he did win. He is an indie award for one of the indie films that he did. So he's a star in the making. So
Nice. And the other thing that I love so much about what you do with your team is that you provide opportunities for people that are trying to break into the industry, interns, and
Mhm.
your space, bring the pain sports, with your having your radio, your podcast, the audio. I like to just call it multimedia. Like you've never limited yourself to just one way to tell the story.
Mhm. Absolutely, because there are so many different ways to get the message out. And my vision for bringing the pain sports was exactly that. I think that as a sports media I think that the sports media focus has shifted away from telling the stories as they are on the field or on the court to the side narratives of all the other things that really take away from the game. We don't need to hear every single story that happens in people's personal lives, their personal endeavors that don't pertain to the game. So the idea was when I started this is to have a sports media conglomerate that tells the stories from the player's perspective, things that are going on, things that are pertinent to the game, some actual analysis that the fans can grasp to understand this is what you're looking at, because that's the way sports used to be covered. And
Right.
now, you have different agendas and different um, stories that, take away from all that. And one of the things that just grinds my gears is we have people, and no disrespect to anyone who is in the media that didn't compete, but we have too many people in the sports media business that never competed at any level. And I think
That
that's
part.
why we have so many people who ask the same questions that if someone had perspective of being an athlete would understand. The number one thing that grinds my gears is when you have a player or a coach or someone and they're at their very peak or the very valley. They either won a big game or they lost a big game. The first question they ask is, how are you feeling? Okay,
Exactly.
if you ever competed at any level, you know how I'm feeling. And you know that's not a good question to ask. Now,
Right.
I would like to say, okay, third down, when you made that critical pass that led to the drive continuing, which ultimately led to you guys winning the game. What is it that you saw in that defensive formation that made you call an audible? that made you flip your receivers? What is it on the basketball court that made you guys run the play off the pick for you to get the shot open so you can stop and pop? What is it? So like, take me to that moment. Players will give you everything because they love to go back and relive that moment. But what they don't want to do is share with you their feelings, because they don't want to talk about that, even whether it's high or low. It's not a good question, and people in media keep asking those type of questions. Or the alternative, which to me is even worse, I think about the NBA draft, and young man that was the second overall pick. He has no criminal record. He has no criminal history. He's never been charged. He's never been arrested. He's never been implicated. One of his friends were implicated in a murder trial.
Right.
Just someone he knows. We all know people who've done bad things. And so instead of congratulating the man, the fact that he comes from a very stable household, his father was a former player who didn't make it to the NBA, but he went through the grind. He went through playing overseas and CBA in Europe, and anywhere he could play basketball and make money, he did. And he developed his son. His sister's trying to make the WNBA. He's got another brother that went to the G League who's still later on in his years, but still, trying to live the NBA dream. Tell that story instead of talking about his friends who was stuck, who did a murder, had a murder situation. Why is that pertinent to that particular moment? And this is the peak of this young man's life at this point. He's just been announced as the second pick in the NBA draft. After all of those days, staying late in the gym, working on your jump shot, working on free throws, listening to coach, watching film, working out, all of those hours of dedication are basically thrown out of the way for you to highlight something negative that he wasn't even directly involved in.
Correct.
And that's the problem that we have with sports media today. So that was a vision of, when I created Bring the Pain Sports. That was the vision that I had in mind when I created the organization.
And that right there is where I do know how the Holy Spirit connected us, because again, Richard's from this area. I'm from Minneapolis, but in getting to this space originally, I always wanted to tell those stories, and always wanted to have the perspective of the athlete or the perspective of the coach whenever I was in those press conferences. And I used to tell Richard, I said, back early in my career, I tended to be the one whose question ended up being the soundbite for all the major networks being shown later, because the athlete knew when I asked the question that I had a clue. Like, I had the perspective of the former athlete in asking my question. They would warm up, they would have the smile, they would feel energetic, and that's news. That's what you want to show in a clip.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so the sensationalism, that's what you're talking about, Rich. That sensationalism and exploiting moments to think that that's going to get you more views. And these days, we call get you more clicks and that kind of thing. It just is so disparaging, and that's why I always talk about the fact that I want to bring this platform, and so I always want to support your platform as a legit journalist. Because, and again, no diss to people that want to tell sports stories, or that want to be bloggers, or that want to, just be on screen and have their voices heard. But it's something different about bringing the acumen of a journalist, and then on top of that, bringing the acumen and experience of being a former athlete to the space. Now, I will say that it's getting better. I definitely know it's getting better. Back, over 30 years when I was first in this thing, there were really nobody. I shouldn't say met, but saw Cheryl Miller at the Final Four. And when I was actually covering the Final Four for Insight News, and ran into Cheryl and said, I just wanted to tell you that one of the reasons why I do this, because I have my media credentials on us, and one of the reasons I do this is because back when I was first coming out of school, it was only you and Jane Kennedy. That was it. And she was like, well, Jane was a very good journalist. I said, yeah, but she was never an athlete. And so for you to have that shot and for you to inspire me, and I'm not that much younger, I think we're only 2 years apart. For me to have an opportunity to do that, you were very inspiring, and she was touched. I mean, she's such an incredible person,
And an
just
amazing
human.
basketball analyst. And I wish that, they would really give her, the type of platform to be on the national stage, because she's the kind of person that not only brings the journalism experience, but also the perspective. She's the one who's going to break the play down for you and explain to you what the athlete sees at that particular moment. And that's the type of analysis that we need to get back to,
Abs-
as sports media, period.
Yeah, and so again, this is what I love about, especially the women that are coming in the game, because honestly, most of the women that are being given this shot are the former athletes. And so I don't see it as much on the men's side, but I definitely see it on the women's side. So when you see a woman in front of you, know for sure that she's an expert. Know for sure that she really knows what she's talking about. And, don't let the lipstick and lip gloss fool you. We know a little bit of something about something in regards to this. But even when we do know a little bit about something, sometimes our tongue gets tied. And I promise, this is the other thing that has been so fun about working with Bring the Pain Sports. So you have this thing that I don't even know where you find the time for this, Rich. But tell the people about the bloopers.
Okay, so I have a saying that I never throw away film. Anything that I shoot can and will be used in some way, shape, or form at some point. So even the mistakes, the things that we need to do another take. Like, I don't throw that away. I think that there's a place for that. It's a way to have fun, also. So I would put together at random these blooper reels of mistakes, either technical errors or speech errors, or just us cutting up, acting a fool, and like we're recorded behind the scenes. So it makes it kind of fun, breaks the monotony a little bit, and it's also one of the ways that I really learned how to edit very well is by and I also learned how to organize as I'm shooting. So as I'm shooting, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna say that for the blooper reel. So when I go back to file, I would have files like I would label like, this is a blooper, this is good, this. So everything that I've ever shot is in some way, shape, or form is labeled and tucked away somewhere.
I can't with you. Okay, we got to check out your blooper reels. I know we've got something here that we can share.
Okay. You're watching BTP Sports Talk about Sideline to Sideline. This is Richard Walker. We're at NRG. I said
and we're gonna start again. Keep it rolling.
Folks, Mitchell Brock will Bring the Pain Sports, and we're coming to you. I forgot.
Well, we are out here, folks.
15:45. I did that. 45.
So on this draft party. Oh, you gotta go? Okay. No, you don't have to go. Good. Okay. So tell me your name. He has to go. You all have to go. Okay. Bye, guys. That's okay. All right. Have fun tonight.
Oh, you still rolling? You still rolling? All right, cool.
Here at BTP Sports, we definitely realize that there's no us without you. If you're not following us on social media, make sure you...
Y'all are gonna catch that, I know, and put it on the roll one day, and I was gonna be like, don't show that. Oh my gosh! And the thing that's so funny about that is literally as the mistakes are coming out of our mouths, we already know. We're like, oh, we're going to see this again. We are going to see this.
It's kind of like when you watch film with a session with the coach, and you're like, you gonna get that? Yeah, you go back and it instills in your head too as a player, where you that you got some bad film out there. Ooh, I'm gonna see about that. Yeah, I'm gonna hear about that on Monday.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that back cut. Yeah, no doubt.
It also helps you to stay sharp, also, because there's that little voice in your head. I got to get this right, or Rich gonna put me on the blooper reel. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing as sports. I got to get this right, or coach gonna put me on film. I don't want to be on film in front of the team. So it's a little bit of season, a little bit of pressure, there, but it helps with overall performance. So.
Exactly. So speaking of that and keeping sharp, your training, the way that you train your interns as well as people that you bring into your team.
Yes.
I know that you're very particular about how everyone does things, and many have left you and gone on to do work with major networks, and whatever their dreams were, they were able to achieve that. And you just laid such a firm foundation for so many of them. You have a clip that I've seen where it kind of talks about how you train your cameramen.
So this is a clip. I was talking to them about how to properly shoot and how, being in position. And we had some fun with it too.
Yeah.
But being in position to get the shot is critical, because a lot of the mistakes that videographers would make is that they would try to shoot through their eyes. But you need to shoot as if you're sitting in the living room watching the TV. So you need to have that camera in position and be ready to catch the action and catch the shot. Because if you look through your eyes, the camera is not following, if that makes sense. So It's all about teaching the perspective of, you have to take your eyes off the field, use the fans' eyes, because your camera lens is their eyes, so they're able to capture the essence of what's going on. You're telling the story with the camera. So
let's see your fun way of your cameraman training.
We got him.
You have to be in position. It's just like football. All right, you go ahead, kill. It's like football. You got to be in position to make the play. Okay.
Got you.
When that opportunity presents itself, you got to be in position as the cameraman, ready. Where we go? Footwork. Look at the footwork.
Oh, help me.
Look at the footwork. Huh? Who can shoot like this? Huh?
He ain't got no hands though.
What? You saw it.
You still didn't score. I got you.
Oh my gosh. And I'll tell you, so many people that are thinking about maybe getting into this space, be aware that it's going to be a lot of long days.
Oh yeah.
Very, very long days for very little footage that sometimes ends up being broadcast.
Yes.
But it's about just understanding that, and like you said, Richard, finding time to just kind of have a little fun within it, and still be learning, and still be getting your craft to be where you want it to be, working toward being that excellent analyst, being that excellent broadcaster, being that excellent writer, being that excellent camera person that you'll want to be in this sports space. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is your being so, what is the word that I want to use? Being so just meticulous. And I would be remiss to not mention the fact that part of why you have the vision that you have is because you're this home filmmaker. Let's just talk about Epic Films for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you've produced things, not necessarily sports related, but it's been a passion for so long of yours. And
yes.
So talk a little bit about Epic Films with a Q. Epic with a Q.
Yes, Epic with a Q, which the name Epic actually stands for Experts in the Production of Image Quality. So that's where it's an acronym for Epic. And the whole the goal behind that was, I had hired someone to do some film work for me, and the quality was so poor. I was like, oh my God, I could do better myself. Actually, maybe I can. So this is when I first kind of dipped my toe into sports media. God rest his soul, my good friend Craig Shelton, who was my former co-host. He and I started a sports talk, because let me back up for a second. How that all started was, I would just post predictions and post things online, and he would follow me, and like I had like this sort of like a low key cult following of people that were just like, man, I like the way this guy he talks, and he breaks things down, and In my predictions, I went on a ridiculous hot streak where I got 24 games in a row correct. So that's 2.5 weeks, perfect every week. And so people would follow my predictions, follow my picks. They would. I even had people like kind of arguing over, like, well, no, Richard said this, that, and the other. So, Craig reached out to me like, man, hey, you really got something you work with here. I was thinking about, doing because he was in radio for a number of years. He was like, I'm thinking about, getting back into it. So we just started talking, and, that's where the radio thing kind of started, along with my man, Ralph Cooper. Ralph Cooper is the man, the godfather. So that was my first moment on radio was on Ralph Cooper's show.
Shout out to Ralph Cooper. He was somebody who I was told I need to meet. Yes, the GOAT.
Yes. Ralph Cooper. So I was actually doing Ben Hall, who purchased KCOH. I was actually doing some work for him when I was starting my business with Epic Films, getting my studio. I was actually doing some work for him when he was running for mayor. So I produced a lot of his ads for his mayoral campaign. I did some work with him in the community, shooting things that he was doing in the community. So I was going back and forth. Me and Mr. Hall was talking, and I ran into Ralph and introduced myself and told him taking video of the studio stuff, because I was trying to put together like a short documentary on KCOH, and walking around talking to people. Hey, what's the story here? This accident. And when I sit down with Ralph,
it was a whole thing.
The man, if he sneezes, like history comes out of his nostrils. Like he is the most versed person in sport. I was just like a kid sitting in front of a campfire listening to this guy talk, because he's just oozing with so much expertise in sports history, and he's one of the kind of guys that can name drop Muhammad Ali by first name. Oh yeah, Muhammad.
Right.
And he can do that because he spoke to Muhammad Ali.
Right.
He spoke to George Foreman when he was on his rise to becoming a boxing legend. When he fought, he interviewed Muhammad Ali when he fought in Houston in the Astrodome, in his prime. So this man he is sports. There's no question what Ralph Cooper has done. So for me to have that area, that was what lit the fire for me. I was like, man, I got to do this. And I told him, and I keep telling him, all I want to do, my peak is to be half of Ralph Cooper. That's it. That's all I want. That's it. That mountain's too big to climb. But if I get to half, that means I'm doing something.
Yes. He is such a highly regarded
and it was
journalist.
just so, it was like an OMG moment. Like, this dude invited me to be on there, to talk. So, he don't even know me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And so that was the aha moment for me when I really wanted to jump in, 2 feet into the sports thing. And
so I don't know if people understand how incredibly not just smart, but smart, organized. You are a legit, on top of the creative side, you're also a legit project manager when it comes to being able to organize and it in the productions, and it's incredible. I'm so honored. I mean, and it's iron sharpens iron. You always want to have people around you that can encourage you, that can show you something new, that can, and because there's so many sharks in this industry. Unfortunately, there's so many sharks. But when you have people that are around you that are doing this, that you can trust, that are just, like I always say, I don't want to be the smartest in the room. I don't want to be the richest in the room. I don't always want to be the cutest. No, I do always want to be the cutest in the room. No, just kidding. But so listen, we're going to talk some more. But before we do that, Rich, I want to take a quick break to pivot to some shameless plugs and some trending topics that I have. And when we come back to you, I want to talk about you as the athlete, and then talk about what are things that you're doing now since you've hung up those cleats, okay? So, all right, so let's go into my shameless plugs for a bit. So, of course, I have to take the opportunity to say a happy belated birthday to my goddaughter who you guys met about 2 episodes ago, Tisa Mitchell. Her birthday was on last Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're going to wish her a happy, very, very happy birthday. And wishing her well. She's going to be a new assistant coach back at her alma mater, Minneapolis North High School. So when you guys have a chance, and again, the world is so small right now, the ability to be able to watch sports in different parts of the country is really easy. So if you're looking to find very highly competitive high school girls basketball, tune into the state of Minnesota. You know, back in the day when I was when I first became a college coach, you know, I would always go home to recruit. You know, I was living in different other parts of the country, but I always went back into Minneapolis to recruit. And my colleagues would say, "Why are you going there? Who's in Minnesota?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I was there." I was one of the top players in the country, and I wasn't the only one. There were 4 of us in my class, 1983. Shout out to class of 1983. Matter of fact, our 40th high school reunion is this weekend, Saturday, August 5th, in Minneapolis. So shameless plug. But I was there, and again, was not the only, and wasn't the top coming out of my class. But there's plenty of talent, and sure enough, other people eventually figured it out, and now Minneapolis and the Twin City Metroplex is one of the hotbeds for girls basketball, and I'm so glad that people finally know that that some of the best players out of high school are coming out of the Minneapolis and St. Paul Metroplex. But you know, I just wanted to give that shameless plug. And also, speaking of Minneapolis and St. Paul, want to promote The Conversation. I have to talk about The Conversation with Al McFarland. And that's weekdays at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on demand on YouTube, Facebook. It's youtube.com/@InsightNews. Make sure you check it out. There are so many great, amazing guests that are on Al's show, having a conversation with him every day, starting at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. And again, whenever you get a chance, if it's not live for you to catch Al, those episodes will be saved for you to watch on demand whenever you're ready. And so I definitely want you guys to check that out. I happen to be on the conversation on Mondays, and I do just a quick tease and just a little quick snapshot as to what you guys will catch on Coach Leah's After the Whistle on Tuesdays. So you can check me out on Mondays on the conversation with Al McFarland as well. So, all right, so I would love to now jump back into our conversation with Richard Walker. So, Rich, I have a question for you. I want to know, what was it like for you as a high school athlete? Just talk about that a little bit, if you can remember that far. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, digging way back into the crates. Well, I think what's different today is that the coaches and the connection with the student athlete. And this is no offense to anyone that's the current coach right now, but back in the day, coach was daddy or mama number 2. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you feared as a player, as a student athlete, was, I'm going to tell your coach thus and so. And it wasn't so much that we feared, them in a physical sense. We feared disappointing them, because we had coaches that connected with us on another level, that really pushed us to be great and would not accept anything less. So I think I learned a lot of my core principles as far as like being a man himself and being accountable and being a leader. And, I learned a lot of those principles through sports, and it's through all those great coaches that I had going all the way back to Pop Warner. So I think to me, that's the biggest gift that I got from being a student athlete, is that just, you take this raw lump of clay as a boy and you just mold it and shape it and you teach them. We learn life lessons on the field and on the court. And you apply that to your life as you continue to grow and mature. So I think that was, for me, the biggest takeaway was that exactly, just learning things like structure, discipline, focus, overcoming adversities, not making excuses, not making complaints. It's that mentality that, life is going to throw curves at you. Life is going to throw obstacles at you. There are going to be things that you are not expecting that will happen, and you just got to find a way to overcome it. So to me, that was the biggest lesson. That was the most vital lesson that I learned from sports, especially at the high school level. Pretty much your last rendezvous before you go into adulthood. So I think that's the biggest gift.
Nice. So where did you play your college football?
Started off at Middle Tennessee. Things didn't work out there. Came back home and finished my degree, major in finance at University of Houston.
So why do you think that so many athletes feel like if they don't play at a big time school, or they don't play college football at all, that they don't have a chance after that? Because you certainly did.
Well, because that's the old narrative that you have to go to a Division I school or a top tier program in order to get noticed, and especially nowadays with all of the technology and all of the opportunities that are out there. There are multiple leagues to play professional football that did not exist back in the day. There's the XFL, there's the rebirth of the USFL. The Arena League is coming back. Shout out to all the Arena League alumni. They're coming back. You have all these different leagues in addition to the CFL as an opportunity to go showcase your skill and also develop. There was never that developmental track where you got guys that got the raw talent. But in some of these higher tier pro leagues like the NBA or in NFL, it's either you have it or you don't. But you're able to go to those leagues and harness your skills and develop a bit more. And then when you're ready for your trial, you're polished. So those opportunities didn't present themselves anymore. So as far as I'm concerned, nowadays where you play, it's collegiate level. It doesn't matter. As long as you're focused. You may not get your name called on draft day, and that doesn't matter because there's a lot of guys and girls who got their names called on draft day that didn't pan out, and there are some that didn't get their name called, and it turned out to be great for them. And it's what create that edge for them. It's what put that chip on their shoulders. What made them work harder. What made them study harder. And I've literally didn't play a single snap during a game in the NFL, but get a check every month. So I think it kind of worked out.
That part.
I'm just
right.
saying, I think it worked out. So there are a number of paths to get through, to your goal. And, sometimes God may close a door, but there's a window. And if you see it, you go through it.
Exactly. So you have had a chance to work with the NFL alumni and then their wellness space. And I'm so I'm so proud of you for that, because as we know, there's so much about athletics and being an athlete. People tend to only focus on the physical, and wellness encompasses everything. And we're learning too late as far as I'm concerned, but we are getting there. That it's a more of a comprehensive look that we have to focus on in order to maintain and have your abilities be sustained. So talk a little bit about your work with the Alumni Wellness Program. And then I do want you to pivot quick and talk about now that you're the founder and president of the Pro Legends Media. Okay.
So again, this is another opportunity of favor in the works. So I was at the Radio Row in LA. So I'm running upstairs to get snacks. We just got off the air, and I'm running up. My greedy self runs up there to get snacks. So I'm in the green room. I'm filling my pockets with cookies, crackers, chips, soda, whatever they got up there. I'm hoarding all the snacks. I'm just, just wiping the green room out. And I look over the corner, I see a guy over there, and he's looking at me. I was like, man, am I gonna get busted for taking all the goodies here? So he comes over, he introduces himself. We just start chit-chatting and talking, and it turned out this is my good friend Russ. This is another example of favor, working. We're talking a couple thousand people in that convention center, and we just happened to meet at that particular moment in that particular time.
Do we have a picture of the two of you guys?
I think I got one. I can send it to you, but I don't. Yeah. Oh no, that's Leroy Butler. So I'll get to his story in a minute, which is incredible.
Okay.
But Russ and I met, and he said, hey, I'm managing this wellness program for the Alumni Association. No offense, but you want to lose a little weight, and Lord knows I needed to lose weight bad. I was well over 420 pounds at the time. I was in the middle of a gout attack that happened while I was on the air roll. So I had to limp out of the convention center. It took me like half an hour to get out of the convention center. I had high blood pressure. Unbeknownst to me, I was pre-diabetic. So by the grace of God, I go get on this plan. I start to get my weight turned around. I go do my A1C, and the doctor's like, whoa, boy, you were way across the line. Like, I'm surprised you weren't on insulin. So my A1C was that high. I get the weight off. I get down 91 pounds. And, as I'm going through this journey, it's just like, it's incredible. So at some point, they presented me the opportunity to actually coach other players and help, be an ambassador to get other players foreign players on the program. Did that. And I've coached many foreign players to achieve their wellness goals, and still got more on the works. I recently met with Mayor Rachel Proctor in DeSoto. So we have a plan to deploy a wellness program for their senior citizens, because they have an obesity problem with their senior citizens in their senior center. So I met with them. And through Von Miller, who's with the Buffalo Bills, we had an event for them to talk about obesity. So there's a track there. And ultimately now, I said, we can't be selfish with this. This has to be more than a program. So we come up with the term tackle obesity, because I think that's the perfect way to describe how we need to address this problem. We have to tackle the obesity pandemic.
Right.
4 out of 10 Americans are dealing with some way, shape, or form, or some comorbidity of obesity, and it's getting worse. Particularly, it's getting worse amongst our youth, which does a couple things. Number one, is going to shorten lifespan. But also from the sports perspective, there's a shrinking pipeline of athletes. And even our military, I spoke with a 3-star general who said the cost of recruiting a soldier has tripled over the past 10 years, because 6 out of 10 candidates for boot camp can't even do the PT to get through boot camp because they're overweight. They are redesigning the F-14 cockpit because the pilots are too fat to fit into the cockpit. So they had to go back and spend millions of dollars to re-engineer to make a wider cockpit to fit a wider pilot. So these are just examples of how obesity has just become such a problem in this company. And we're starting with football as a bedrock for this movement. So think of the tackle obesity movement. You're going to see that logo everywhere. This is the equivalent of the ALS ice bucket or the Susan B. Komen pink ribbon. We're doing this for obesity, and we open it up to anyone and everyone.
Well, I love how you're an example of that. Look at your before and after, Rich. I'm so proud of you. Point of personal privilege, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but one of the times when you were getting your diagnosis for everything that's going on with you, you were in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get there quick enough. I just was like, what in the heck is going on? Mm-hmm. And to see you laying there and to know that my dear friend and brother has something going on that he was able to catch it. You were able to catch it quick enough. I was so grateful to God that happened, but I knew that was going to be something that was going to be that after the whistle, is that we call it, moment, where it was going to be, there was going to be a life-changing moment for you. Your after picture is 91 pounds lighter, and then
Yes.
I know it's still counting. We're still counting.
Still counting.
Talk to us about how the fact that you get to be this, not talk about it, but truly be about it at this stage.
Well, that's it exactly, because I'm a man of my word. I believe that my word should carry exactly what I say. So I can't speak about something that I don't partake in. And I think that having the opportunity to not only fix my own condition, but to be an example or be a beacon to people that there's hope, that there are ways that you can do this, and it's not boring. This is not starvation. This is not doing any type of weird surgeries or anything like that. This is just changing your lifestyle, changing your attitude and your mentality towards food. We come up with an acronym that I call NERD. And that's a 4-step program that to achieve optimal wellness. It's called nutrition, exercise, rest, and de-stress. Those 4 things are 4 key components in order for you to help not only lose the weight, but to keep it off.
So we get to be nerds.
Being a nerd is the word.
Nerd is the word. Nerd is the word. I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we're going to have to wrap this up. Oh my gosh. This time has gone by so fast. I knew it would. Oh, Richard, I need you to talk about your, what is it that's your, oh my gosh, your inspirational quote. There we go. So, so we're got an inspirational quote that I would like for you to share with us. Read this and then tell us why this is so important to you and why it's so inspirational.
This is the quote. This is a Chinese proverb that I live by. It's called, it says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So on one hand, the proverb is saying, yes, it was an opportunity for you to do X, Y, and Z in your life. Okay, that time has passed. Now is the second best time to do exactly that. And I think a lot of times we focus on missed opportunities so much that we miss the opportunity that presents itself right now. And I have a saying that you never starve today trying to feed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So there's something that needs to be done. Focus on it. Get it done today.
Yes. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Do not be afraid to ask for help. And, I'm always, Rich, I need some help. Rich, you need you to take, and I'm going to tell you something. I never take for granted when you're able to have those moments, but that's what good friends do for each other. You know that they only call, I shouldn't say they only call on you, but when they call on you, know that you really need to try to take that time for your friends. And we've been that for each other in times now that, gosh, going on 9 years already. Mm-hmm. Time has flown by, absolutely flown by. Well, Rich, listen, you also have a sports show that is actually based out of California.
Yes.
And that's shown when? Let's talk about that real quick.
It's actually I actually decided to focus on the obesity movement. So my podcast is called Tackle Obesity also.
Got it.
It's a pivot to not only nutrition, but also how to live a good lifestyle.
Sure.
And there's sort of a sports pivot to it also. So that's kind of where pro-religious media ties in, because the whole concept of pro-religious media is to tell stories that you never heard before. You hear all these great stories of accolades on the field and things like that. But what about the story behind the story? So real quickly, Leroy Butler, who was the guy that you showed earlier, Leroy couldn't walk correctly until he was 7. He was on the field watching kids play. He was crying. His mom told him, "Don't worry, God's gonna fix this for you. You're gonna play football one day." Fast forward, he starts at Florida State with Deion Sanders. He gets drafted by the Packers. He wins the Super Bowl and gets inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So this is me here, and we're actually honoring Dick Butkus at his Lifetime Achievement event. So I'm happy to say that Pro Legends is going to be working close with Leroy to help produce his life story, which will be on Netflix and Amazon, all of the platforms. And then we're also going to be doing the same with Dick Butkus. So that's just a start. Yeah.
So nice. So I need you to promise me that you're going to be able to give us the exclusive to when everything's going to drop. Absolutely. And I also would love to do a printed version of what's going on with that as well in Insight News. You were an amazing contributor to a story that I posted back a few months ago with Warren Moon, and that story was just so heartfelt. It kind of surprised people. They thought that was going to be just about Warren Moon and all his accolades, and it ended up being a lot more. And those are the stories I know that we love to tell. So listen, my friend and brother, we have got to get out of here. But I would love for everyone to know where they can find you on social media.
Easiest way is at the DA Great Sports Morpheus on any social media platform. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Look for the Great Sports Morpheus. You can also visit tackleobesity.com. That's the website.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, listen, thank you again for joining us. And so Rich has got to get out of here. But listen, everybody, I would love for you to subscribe, share, subscribe, share. Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Coach Leah is one word, CoachLeah. Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Be sure that you check us out for our next amazing episode of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. This has been great. It's going to get better. All right, y'all have a great week. Bye-bye.